All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. Coming back again, gonna do another lesson here. Today's topic is dealing with what is a mamzer. All right, we're gonna go according to the law and to the testimony because anything that isn't in that, there is no light in it. All right. Once again, I want to say shalom. Yeah, man. Today going into this lesson because I was what I've been following lately is this virgin birth topic, and if you look at any of the older videos on my page, you'll see that that was one of the first things that I recorded and went into because it's a very easily debunked doctrine when you actually study it out. And I believe the Most High usually brings these old things back up again to one renew you in it, and as well, man. A lot of times when you have to go back and look at this information a second time, uh, you basically start finding even more precepts supporting the absolute destruction of these false teachings. All right, but I was following this thread and the brothers at the Sakari camp, they did a video on the virgin birth and they went into a little bit of information that I didn't even really touch because basically from the information that I was into, that basically kills it and cuts it clean right there. These guys will bring up the same old issues that's been coming up for hundreds of years. All right. So it's not like they're coming up with, oh, we've just seen this or some type of new revelation. What's going on is these guys are just bringing the same old thing, which has been debunked several times. But basically, the guy in the video was and this is something you should always take note of when you watch these videos, especially when someone does a response video to someone else's video. Okay, and I'm not even gonna mention the brother. You can go to the Sakari page and check it out. But because basically they're trying to just do stuff to get viewership into a radio show. But the issue came up with the brother basically started out his video saying that the brother at the Sakari Alazar wasn't qualified to teach because he was a mamzer. And basically was talking about his mother being a white woman and his father being a so-called black man. Now, what's crazy about this is that the breakdown that these people say things, but you when they say it and you hear it come out of their mouth, it's almost like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Because nowhere in scripture does it say if your father is an Israelite and your mother is of another nation, you're a mamzer. That doesn't exist in the text nowhere. All right. And what's crazy about it is that, these people, man, they always have something to say about a doctrine and they never come in the spirit of a brother. They come in the spirit of, I'm going to attack you because of maybe who you learned under, maybe because of who you are, maybe because of your complexion, or maybe because of your historical background, whether it be your ethnic ethnic background or either your personal life background. Okay, these guys are totally against what the Torah really teaches as far as concerning brotherhood, because these guys they always come to these videos in the sense of my breakdown is right because I say my breakdown is right. You see, they don't never directly answer questions that are in the video that they're responding to. You okay? So whenever you see someone doing that, that's just that Hebrew tap dance shuffle where they're trying to get around what somebody directly said and try and veer off into other topics, such as calling a brother a mamzer and trying to say he's not qualified to say what he's saying, when anyone that's speaking truth or is qualified to say what they're saying in that regard. But like I said, they come in a spirit of trying to defame people and to denigrate people and make it seem as though they're not able to bring forth the word of the Most High or a proper breakdown. Because, like I said, their breakdown is right because they say it's right. Don't go into why they said what they said just to say something. So we're going to deal with this issue because I haven't seen a lot of people do it. All I hear is a lot of Hebrews talking about and calling people mamzers, but will not go into why are you calling that person a mamzer. All right. So we're going to start off in the only place that they can find the information that they're trying to spew. And it does not say what they say it says. All right. And we're going to go deeply into this topic, okay? Now, we're going to start at Deuteronomy 23 and verse 1. And I just want to put in this disclaimer is that when you read the Torah, you must understand that there are no chapters and there are no verses within chapters, all right? These pieces of information and reading tools were added for modern readers. Why? Because if you go back in the ancient days, most Hebrew men that studied the scriptures heavily memorized the Torah before they were married. Depending upon if you were in a very strict school of thought, you had it memorized at a very young age. All right? And that I'm talking 13, 14, 12 years old. Memorize the Torah by heart. Every verse. All right? So the reason why I bring that up is because when you read Deuteronomy 23, the information that starts off in 23:1 is still tied to the end of chapter 22. This is common sense. But see, these people jump to one verse and make it seem like, oh, I've got something on you, simply because they don't want to deal with the issue that they're making their video about. So keep that in mind. We're going to jump right into this. This is Deuteronomy 23, and we'll start at verse 1. It says, he that is wounded in the stones or have his privy members cut off shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, the Most High Yahweh. Now, this chapter starts off the way they have it broken off with a man that has his testicles removed or wounded, or some type of issue is going on with his reproductive or where he cannot bear forth seed, he is supposed to be not able to enter into the congregation of the Most High. This is very important because this chapter is going to be, or this breakdown, or basically what a mamzer is, has directly to do with sexual activity. It does not have to directly do with sexual activity between Hebrews and those of other nations. That has nothing to do with what a mamzer really is, because we're going to deal with that Hebrew. They take the English bastard and use a modern tone for it versus what is in the Hebrew text and what you can pull out of the Hebrew text and not what you're adding in there, all right, in your own perception. And actually, the only other time that bastard is even used in the scripture is in Jeremiah 9, and that is also mamzer. And then bastard is used in Hebrews. But in Hebrews, it gives you slightly a modern context, but that context has nothing to do with how they're pursuing it. All right. So now we'll jump to verse 2. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. So they'll take this scripture and they'll say, okay, what is a bastard? Instead of them going in to look at a mamzer and seeing, you got to understand the scripture has to be broken down precept upon precept. You can't read bastard in a verse anywhere and say, oh, this means bastard like it does today. Because if you're going to use that same logic, in the New Testament, there's a verse that says, he that weareth the gay clothing. Now, if you're going to strictly adhere to a modern interpretation of what gay means, not going to the Greek or not going to the archaic usage of gay, you would literally have to say that this person is wearing homosexual garbs. When you look at the text, it's talking nothing about that. So, once again, always use precept upon precept, the original language, and also whenever you're defining a term, you cannot define a term by itself. I hope that makes sense. So now, we'll continue for now, but we're definitely going to jump back to this, okay? Verse 3, an Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever. Now, this is extremely key. Why? Because an Ammonite and a Moabite have just received the same judgment or law as a mamzer. This is common sense. Anyone can see this here. All right? Verse 4, because they met you not with bread and water in the way when you came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against the Balaam, the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse thee. All right? And then you go along later on and it tells you more about it. But now, why did it at first group the Ammonite or the Moabite with a mamzer? Remember, I told you that the end of 22 directly correlates with the beginning of 23. So this is Deuteronomy 22, and we'll basically start at verse 30, because that's what I really want, okay? Because that's right there, one verse before the first verse of chapter 23. So this is Deuteronomy 22. Now check this. A man shall not take his father's wife, nor discover his father's skirt. Now, what is this talking about? When it says a man shall not take his father's wife, it's talking about you cannot do this sexual act, because this is going to get very deep. Stick with me, okay? So, we've got that context and understanding. So now what I want to do, let's pull up the Hebrew for Mamzer. All right. This is Deuteronomy 23. Mamzer. All right. This is H4464. And when I usually look up these Hebrew words, I like to go into the root etymology, but notice here it is from an unused root, meaning to alienate. Now that's going to be key because that alienation has to do with what happened in Ezra and what happened to do with what it's talking about in Hebrews. But that alienation is the root behind what a mamzer is. Alienation is not by itself a mamzer, meaning a child that you just don't take care of. All right. Now, it says it's used twice, and like I said, it's Deuteronomy 23:2, and it's in Jeremiah chapter 9. Now, check this. It says a bastard, child of incest, a illegitimate child, a bastard, mixed population, figuratively. All right. And then it says born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother, or vice versa. All right. So it chiefly tells you that it's of a bastard, a child of incest, an illegitimate child. Now, when it says born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother, or vice versa, that would be fine. But you would have to have a precept to show a child born in this configuration called a mamzer for you to teach it as law. It doesn't exist. And we're actually going to go through, we're going to show you that there were many men born with heathen mothers, and they were still considered full Israelites. So let's scroll down here. It's in Zechariah 9 and verse 6, and we'll get into that part in a second. But what I want to deal with here is it says a child of incest. So automatically, when these people call other people mamzers, when was the last time they went to go find someone that was born of incest and call them a mamzer? They don't do it because they go off of the meaning of a bastard or illegitimate child in the sense of born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother. But like I said, this information is good, but you can't sit here and let this be your final authority because it must be precept upon precept. So I would ask this question: where is the precept that shows a Jewish father and a heathen mother, or a heathen mother, a Hebrew woman and a heathen father, and that child being called a mamzer and not able to enter into the congregation? Because I'm going to show that the children of both of these were emphatically within the camp or the congregation. It's interchangeable of the Israelites. I'm going to emphatically prove this, give you precepts. I'm not going to sit here and read this and tell you, see, that's what it means. That's laziness. You don't understand the scriptures when you do that. So now, it says a child born of incest. If you know the scriptures, you now see why Ammonites and Moabites were listed as not being able to enter the congregation until the 10th generation, the same as a mamzer. Why? Because their ancestry traces to a Mamzer, which would be Ammon and Moab. All right. Their forefathers were born of incest between Lot and his daughters. That is 100% clear and lines directly up with the definition of a mamzer. So now, let's look up this illegitimate child. Now, this is illegitimate. This is just a quick Google definition, but I'm going to give you the Oxford, all right? And I'm going to give you the Webster definition of this. It says, not authorized by the law, not in accordance with accepted standards or rules, illegal, unlawful, illicit, criminal. A person who is illegitimate by birth. So from a Hebrew perspective, the English word illegitimate child is going to take you, if you're walking in Hebraic thought, to where in the law is there a sexual union where a child can come forth that is unlawful, not authorized by the law, or not in accordance with accepted standards or rules. Because there is a law that says Hebrew men can emphatically marry heathen women. Verbatim. Must have been a whole lot of mamzers being produced during war times that aren't recorded in the scriptures. Nowhere. Don't see nobody called a mamzer except for this person or this bastard that is going to dwell in our enemy's land as a judgment by the Most High, Yahweh. So, where are the precepts? So let's look up a little bit more on illegitimate. This is the Webster's. It says, not recognized as lawful offspring. So here we go again with this tying into the products of certain sexual unions. That's what it originally talks about. It says not sanctioned by law, not authorized by good usage, departing from the regular, not rightly deduced or inferred. And then it has here born of parents not married to each other. But we know that in Hebrew culture, marriage was not done or perceived how they are talking about marriage here in Webster's. Because marriage here in Webster's is going to trace you back to the law definition in law of England, Europe, and the United States concerning marriage, dating all the way back to the 1600s. All right? That's where the English version of it, but the etymology of words still are going to carry a certain weight when you use them to describe of the words. You have to put it in proper context. So let's jump back. See if I can pull up the Oxford here. We'll pull it up here, the Oxford. Not authorized by the law, not in accordance with accepted standards or rules. All right. And then the less used definition is once again going right back to modern times. All right. So, where in the Torah does it list, shows laws, accepted standards, and the rules for what makes someone a mamzer? Because you have to go back to a prior law to define what a mamzer is. You can't jump to Deuteronomy 23:2 and say, oh, this is a mamzer. It's whatever the hell I say it is, with no precepts. When even though it shows you an example of mamzers, right after it tells you a mamzer can't come in the 10th generation, it names off two nations of people that are considered mamzer people, illegitimate people, because they were not supposed to exist, because it was not the Most High's law that a man lay with his daughters. They weren't born from acceptable standards or rules. So let's hop back here. We're going to go to Leviticus 18. Exit out of there and pull it back up. These people clearly don't know or understand law or Torah. Leviticus 18, all right? Now, where I want to start at is verse 6, because this is going to be a complete rundown. And this is why I said when you go back and you look at Deuteronomy 22, the last verse, verse 30, is talking about someone committing incest, building the context of what a mamzer is. All right? This is Leviticus 18, verse 6. None of you shall approach to any that is near kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother thou shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. The nakedness of thy son's daughter or of thy daughter's daughter, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover, for theirs is thine own nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter, begotten of thy father, she is thy sister, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. And it goes on and on and on. All right, and on and on. Why? Because all of this shows you the unlawful unions which children can come from in instances, and they would be considered mamzers, just like an Ammonite or a Moabite. And you want to know why it listed those people as nations? Once again, you could go back and look at the story of Noah. When it says that Canaan uncovered his father's nakedness, what did he do? Did he have sex with Noah? Touch Noah? Or did he lay with Noah's wife? Uncovered his father's nakedness? And were his children or the child that was born unto him from that Could it have been Canaan from his own mother? And this is why we were told to not make marriages with 7 Canaanite nations. Why? Because it's very quite possible that Canaan had that Ham had sex with his mother, and she bore him Canaan. All these instances are right here in the scriptures, clearly understood. But we'll continue on. So now, we just clearly showed in Leviticus 18 what is and isn't a mamzer. All right. Now, if you want to go into the Septuagint actually translates it as born of a prostitute. But I would say that there is an issue with that because, for one, you would have to deal with Hosea 1 and 2, and then you would have to also deal with Jeremiah 3 and 1. And Jeremiah 3, that's actually the mystery of the reconciliation of the nation of Israel. Why? Because once a woman went a whoring, the law tells you that the man cannot take the woman back, that it is defiled and it's unclean and an abomination. So the issue throughout scripture was, how can Israel be reconciled when we were married and we went a whoring? Meaning we were not supposed to be able to come back. That's the mystery of the gospel. So now, continuing. So next thing we're going to get into is Jeremiah chapter 9. Might have that already pulled up. No, I don't. I have a few other things. So here's Jeremiah chapter 9. I'm going to start at verse 1. All right? Because this is going to directly call someone in the future from this prophecy a mamzer. And anyone that studies Jeremiah chapter 9, you would have to look into who Jeremiah is prophesying is coming. It says, "Oh, that my head were waters and my eyes a fountain of tears, that I might weep day and night for the slain of the daughter of my people. Oh, that I had in the wilderness a lodging place of wayfaring men, that I might leave my people and go from them. For they be all adulterers, an assembly of treacherous men, and they bend their tongues like their bow for lies, but they are not valiant for the truth upon the earth, for they proceed from evil to evil, and they know not me, saith the Lord, the Most High Yahweh. Take ye heed every one of his neighbor, and trust ye not in any brother, for every brother will utterly supplant, and every neighbor will walk with slanders, and they will deceive." In the right chapter, yeah. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're still right. Hold up, I'm not in the right chapter. One second. Salakia went to the wrong chapter. Well, no, I wasn't the right. Zechariah. Salakia. It's not Jeremiah, it's Zechariah. I don't know what I was going in there. We pull up the full chapter. I got Jeremiah written in my notes. It's wrong. But continuing. Now it says, "The burden of the word of the Lord in the hand of Hadrach." Now, when you study out Zechariah, Zechariah was prophesying God. Leah was way off. That's Jeremiah is another whole different situation. But With Zechariah is prophesying and alive during around the time of the Medo-Persian rule. All right. So these people are already around about, and everyone already knows about them. They're already a world power. All right. But he's prophesying on someone coming after them. All right. This is the burden of the word of the Lord in the hand of Hadrach, and Damascus shall be the rest thereof. When the eyes of man, as of all the tribes of Israel, shall be toward the Lord, and Hamath also shall border thereby Tyrus and Zidon, though it be very wise. And Tyrus did build herself a stronghold, and heaped up silver as the dust, and fine gold as the mire of the streets. Behold, the Lord will cast her out, and he will smite her power in the sea, and she shall be devoured with fire. Who is this talking about who's coming? This is talking about the Greeks. Why? Because when you study history, it is well known of the battle that Alexander did when he took Tyrus's sea island. Continuing. Ashkelon shall see it and fear. Gaza also shall see it and be very sorrowful. And Ekron, for her expectation shall be ashamed, and the king shall perish from Gaza, and Ashkelon shall not be inhabited. And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. What did the pride of the Philistines was in connection with? If you understand history and where the Philistines came from, you understand that the Philistines were a subgroup of the Mizraim, the Egyptians. So the pride of the Philistines was those who preceded them, which were the Egyptians, which is why they always had alliances and had the ability to be able to send forth letters to the Pharaoh complaining about David and Solomon. All right. So here it clearly mentions this bastard. So who is this bastard? It would have to be someone from the Greeks. Can't be talking about Alexander, because Alexander only ruled for 13 years. It says, shall dwell in Ashdod. I don't think the pride of the Philistines was cut off in 13 years. And when you read the rest of the chapter, it talks about how Israel is going to be preserved, while the rest of their enemies shall be cut off that are all around them. Now, what's so crazy about this is this directly tells you who a bastard is if you understand history and prophecy. This is clearly talking about the Greeks coming in with Alexander the Great spearheading the destruction and doing all of the destruction in Tyre, all right, or Tyrus. And then you go back, and later on, it tells you that a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. So the pride of the Philistines, again, what is it? It's those pharaohs back in Egypt. When you go back and you study the Exodus, what was the issue? It was the pride of Pharaoh. Why? Because he was king. They were very adamant about their religious and political structure. But this right here, Zechariah is prophesying and telling you who's going to come in and destroy all the enemies around Judah, but they're going to be preserved. Let's read verse 7. And I will take away his blood out of his mouth, and his abominations from between his teeth. But he that remaineth, even he shall be for our God, and he shall be as a governor in Judah, and Ekron as a Jebusite. And I will encamp about mine house because of the army, the Greeks coming in, but Israel going to be spared. And all these other little people, the Philistines, the Zidonians, Gaza, Ashkelon, Tyrus, all of these people are going to be destroyed, but Israel or Judah shall be preserved. Verse 8 again, and I will encamp about mine house because of the army, because of him that passeth by, and because of him that returneth, and no oppressor shall pass through them any more. For now I have seen with mine eyes. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just and having salvation, lowly and riding upon an ass, and upon a colt, the foal of an ass. All right. So that's basically just getting into before these people that's coming in leave out, is prophesying that the Messiah would come. All right. And that did happen with Yahushua. So now, going back up, we know Alexander only ruled for 13 years. But when he sees Tyre, especially dealing with this island that they had, which was a part of their coastal nation, which was a stronghold because it had walls all the way up to the sea. So it was an infamous victory for Alexander the Great. This is a well-known story. So what he ended up doing was, after he attacked them, he got assistance for certain things from the Israelites. All right. This was what led into somewhat of their preservation. But what I want to pull up here is who was the bastard that dwelled there. So what we're going to do now, let's see if I can pull it up. I don't got it. Let's see here. Pull this back up. Yeah, here it is right here. So who ended up ruling all around Jerusalem? You can clearly see it outlined in their territories in the maps that they have of it. The Ptolemaic dynasty. That is, those people were the bastard that were going to dwell in Ashdod. History clearly shows you that this was them, because after Alexander the Great died, the Greek Empire split. All right, between, I believe, his 4 generals. One of them being Ptolemy. Ptolemy took over the Egypt area. And just like this map shows here, it even extended all around the area that was preserved. You even have, and what proves this is when you go into the land, you find Seleucid and Ptolemaic coins, vice versa. Why? Because both of them were in that area. And you know how long the Ptolemaic dynasty lasted? About 300 years. So now, this is the question. Because you had Ptolemy go in, and for him, you know what he had to do? To appease the political, social, economic powers of the Egyptians, he had his children commit incest. He probably did too. Committed incest. And then the Ptolemaic dynasty became infamous for incest. So Zechariah in chapter 9 completely predicted the Mamzer, or the bastard, that would dwell, that would come in, a part of that conquering army. And after Alexander died, the portion that was given to Ptolemy just so happens to be all of the area that the Most High just prophesied, while he would preserve Jerusalem in the midst of their enemies, while they would be destroyed by the Ptolemaic dynasty. Under the Greeks, all of those other little nations were basically eradicated. Not all of the people, but the political structure, for the most part, was done. The pride of the Philistines was cut off. How many pharaohs you see coming out of Egypt after that damn Ptolemaic dynasty was there? Exactly. So now, we've just clearly went through the Torah, through the prophet Zechariah, chapter 9, and clearly showed what the Mamzer or bastard is according to the law and the testimony. Now, I would love for anyone to clearly show me where a bastard or a Mamzer is a child born of a Hebrew father and a heathen mother, or a Hebrew woman and a heathen father. And you would have to show me that they were not allowed in the camp or the congregation because of this. See, it's about to get deep now, because I know precepts that support my stance. So, what we're going to deal with first, because this occurs right here in Leviticus. I don't want to get the wrong chapter. Let's see if it's Leviticus 21. No, it's not Leviticus 21. I'll just have to word search it real quick. Let's look up this Israelitish woman incident. It's Leviticus 24. Okay. Let's pull up the full chapter. It's about to get deep, y'all, because I can prove the opposite of what they're saying a mamzer is with precepts. Clearly breaks it down for you. So this is Leviticus 24. We'll start at verse 10. And it reads, "And the son of an Israelitish woman whose father was an Egyptian." Hold up. Didn't we just read in the quote unquote Strong's information that these people should be producing a mamzer, right? This mamzer should not be allowed into the camp, period. Can't come into the congregation till it's 10th generation, according to them. Not even until the 10th generation. Salakia. Went out among the children of Israel. Hold up. How he get in the camp? Hmm? And this son of the Israelitish woman and a man of Israel strove together in the camp. Wait a minute. First of all, how he get in the camp? Second of all, how did he get anywhere near another Israelite to be able to have a little hustle and bustle? Let's jump to verse 11. And the Israelites' woman's son blasphemed the name of the Lord and cursed, and they brought him unto Moses, and his mother's name was Shalomith, the daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan. Hold up. So this is 100% verified now that this is a actual Israelite woman of the tribe of Dan who had a son by an Egyptian man, and their son was allowed to come into the camp. But he messed up. Why? This is going to tell you. He didn't die because he came in the camp. He was allowed in the camp. Let's see why he was put to death, though. And they put him inward, that the mind of the Lord might be shewed them. So they didn't know what to do right offhand. I thought it was clear in the law, Deuteronomy 23, that a mamzer cannot enter into the congregation. What's there to deliberate about? What's there to talk about? Because it ain't he's getting ready to be put to death, and he have nothing to do with who his mother was and who his father was. Continuing. And then and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, bring forth him that cursed. Uh-oh. So this is why he died. He cursed the Lord. Same thing Job's wife told him to do. Curse the Most High and die. And let all that heard him lay their hands upon his head, and let all the congregation stone him. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, whosoever curseth his God shall bear his sin. Uh-oh, here go another issue. So this man's son, this woman's son, this Danite woman's son, and this Egyptian man's son, his God was his mother's God. Uh-oh. Don't say nothing about his father. It just says that his father was an Egyptian. So it could be possible that his father was not there and was dead. But all intents and purposes, this young man's God was the Most High. Was the Most High. Uh-oh. These are the things that these people don't have the common sense or intellectual, studious ability to look at. When you read in the Strongs, you must find precepts for what you're about to say. You cannot read the Strongs and end it and say, oh, yep, that's what it means right there. That's laziness. Let's go to another issue here. Let's find out if some mamzers was out up in the temple doing temple service when they ain't even supposed to be in the congregation, period. Where's what I want? I think it's in First Chronicles. Salakia, mashing all these buttons. Doing this on my phone real quick. First Chronicles. I know it's in Chronicles. Uh-oh. First Chronicles, chapter 23. All right? I'm going to scroll down here. Because when you get into this is talking about who was who, whose father was who, and going back, showing you what they did. So I'm going to start at I'll start at verse 13. It says, the sons of Amram, Aaron and Moses. And Aaron was separated that he should sanctify the most holy things. That's where you get your high priest. He and his sons forever to burn incense before the Lord, to minister unto him, and to bless in his name forever. Verse 14. Now concerning Moses, the man of God, his sons were named of the tribe of Levi. No, I must have read that wrong. His sons were named of the Mamzers. No, I don't think it says that. His sons were named of the bastards. No, I don't say that. Here I've clearly given you precepts upon the woman, Hebrew mother, heathen father. Now I'm giving you the Hebrew father, heathen mother. Not to know, I could even go to Joseph. That means the whole tribe of Ephraim and Manasseh is Mamzers. According to these lunatic Hebrews that ain't got an ounce of scholarship in them and trying to call folks Mamzers because they butt hurt about getting crushed on the virgin birth topic. Now you're getting crushed on what a Mamzer is. Precept upon precept, slice and dice like a Julian salad. Let's continue reading this. This is good. We'll start again from 14. Now concerning Moses, the man of God, his sons were named of the tribe of Levi. Thought they were supposed to be Mamzers and even unto the 10th generation. This next generation after Moses. Uh-oh. Well, oh, hold up. Moses did that before the law, so they was all right. Okay. What about their sons? And their sons' sons? We about to read about them right here. The sons of Moses were Gershom and Eliezer. The sons of Gershom, Shubal was the chief. Hold up. What Gershom's sons doing being chiefs of the family, heads of the family? I thought they were bastards or mamzers. Did you read down here all this? And this is the part I love right here, because the Most High is clear and concise in every law that he gives us. It ain't got no deliberating you supposed to sit around and do. And you ain't supposed to be able to sit around and say something and can't back it up. Verse 24. These were the sons of Levi after the house of their fathers. Well, why ain't saying that about the mothers? Because the mother didn't mean nothing. Because it goes by the seed of your father. You go back to the book of Numbers, everybody was numbered according to the house of their father. You go to the daughters of Zelophehad, looking into their inheritance because their father had no sons. They got their inheritance according to their father. Didn't matter who their mother was. Continuing. Even the chiefs of the father, as they were counted by number of names by their polls, that did the work for the service of the house of the Lord, the Most High Yahweh, from the age of 20 years and upward. So, these these sons of Moses, they're supposed to be Mamzers according to these men doctrine, is up in the temple eating all kinds of stuff when they ain't even supposed to be in the congregation. The camp, they ain't even supposed to be in the camp. But you know who couldn't come into the camp? Let's check this out. Let's find out a Mamzer and how they weren't supposed to come into the camp. Let's see where that was actually acted upon. Let's go to old Rahab that everybody loved to talk about. Let's see what Joshua did with Rahab. Spelled it wrong. Give me 1 second. Rahab. I want to get right to the point on this. Here we go. This is Joshua 6:23. Remember what I told you about them Canaanites and the particular situation upon their birth? Let's read this. And the young men that were spies went in and brought out Rahab and her father and her mother and her brethren and all that she had. And they brought out all her kindred and left them without the camp of Israel. Hold up. Wanted just stated back in Deuteronomy 23, verse 2, that a mamzer can't come into the congregation even until their 10th generation. Look like Rahab, none of her descendants, none of her people, none of her fourth parents, none of them could come into the camp. It says, and left them without the camp of Israel. Yasharal. So clearly here again, we clearly see it spelled out who are the people that are falling into this category. Now, I do want to be fair, and I'll pull up because you gotta be well balanced, and you gotta be able to come with anything these people are gonna go to. Like I said, bastard only the actual English word bastard is 3 times in the scripts. It's Zechariah 9 verse 6, Deuteronomy 23 and 2. I may have said it wrong prior to when I caught it, but it is Zechariah. And the next one we're going to finish this off with is Hebrews 12 verse 8. I'm going to pull up the full chapter on this one. Because once again, this ain't got nothing at all to do with you having a Hebrew father and a heathen mother, or a Hebrew mother and a heathen father. It ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm going to start at, we'll start at verse 5. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, the Most High, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, wherefore all are partakers, then ye are bastards and not sons. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For verily, for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now, no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. So, Hebrews here says someone that's a bastard is talking about a person that isn't reared by their father. That's what it's talking about strictly here. So in that case, when Abraham sent off Ishmael and didn't finish raising him, you make it say he was a bastard. But it ain't have nothing to do with who his mother was. It was because he wasn't raised by his daddy. You could say when Esau flustered off, mad at his daddy, went and married Canaanite women, Ishmaelite women, Hittite women, Hivite women. He became a bastard because he won't raised in the ways of his daddy. Didn't take heed to his chastisement. And it's also here in Hebrews talking about the actual nation of Israel. See, this is something else y'all brothers ain't gonna like. This here is clearly talking about all the captivities we went under for our punishment. So, in other words, if I pull a precept that says the Most High only knew Israel, so he gonna punish them for their sins, where they put the rest of these Gentile nations at? They gonna have to serve some type of chastisement to become sons, ain't they? That's just a fruit for thought. That's some homework right there. But this concludes the lesson. I pray that it was edifying for the brothers. I pray that you took notes. Again, it wasn't Jeremiah chapter 9, it was Zechariah chapter 9. All right. Clearly prophesying about Alexander the Great coming in and destroying all of Israel's enemies, but preserving Israel all the way, even all the way up to the time of the Romans, which it prophesied that as well within that chapter about they're going to be preserved till that time the Mashiach comes, while all the rest of the enemies, the Zidonians, the Philistines, the people of Tyre, all of them were going to be destroyed by this incoming army. And from that army, a bastard was going to dwell in the land of Ashdod. And they would cut off the pride of the Philistines, which is going to take you right back to the Egyptians. We clearly showed in Deuteronomy 23, verse 2, where a Mamzer was given as an example directly after it is mentioned. And also we went back a chapter at the last verse, chapter 22, verse 30, and showed the context of what it was getting into. Then we also proved that an illegitimate child is a child of incest, and that takes you right back to everybody that could be born of a sexual union out of those forbidden sexual acts in Leviticus 18 would be considered bastards, mamzers. We clearly show that the final definition of a Hebrew father and a heathen mother, or a Hebrew mother and a heathen father, is nowhere stated within the scriptures. So, again, I pray that this video is edifying. Go back, watch it a few times, take the notes, go back, study the Ptolemaic dynasty, well known for incest. Well known. Study that, all right? Go back, study those other precepts that I pulled, and get the proper understanding of these terms that people just heinously throw around. All right? So with that, I say, Shalom.